Not The Footy Show.
G'day, fellas. It's Buzz Rothfield from The Telegraph. Editor at large. Just wondering why you haven't done Not The Footy Show for 2 months, eh? Scoop.
Really disappointing, to be honest. It tells you a little bit about sort of just where we're at mentality-wise, you know, and did they think it was going to be easy, hard? I'm not quite sure, but it was obviously not the performance we definitely came here to put on.
Be the ball.
G'day everybody, welcome to a long overdue episode of Not The Footy Show. I'm Warrick Nicolson. You can't see Robb Cox, but believe me, he's there. He's not just here in spirit. He's here to lay down the law that is 2 months of No Not The Footy Show. He's ropeable with me, everybody. This is episode 240. You can't believe we haven't done an episode, mainly because a little birdie told me, Coxsmith, that New South Wales victorious in the 2021 Origin Series. How good?
So good, mate. But the reason why we haven't done one is because I've been in mourning for the last game. You know, I wanted the clean sweep. I'm greedy. I'm greedy like that. You know,
You wanted Mitch Moses at halfback. Come on. Yes, that's why we didn't do a podcast. Didn't want to go on the record.
He's the last person I wanted as halfback, mate. And history will prove that I was correct.
Yeah. I go back to that comment from Gus Goulding on his podcast when they were talking about who would replace Cleary. And he said, if not now, when for Mitchell Moses? And I know we had discussions
about never.
How about no?
Yeah, the option is never. Jack Whiten wasn't much better, but if there was ever a case you go with two halves that maybe are playing half decent football together in one, Steve Walker and A. Reynolds, that was it. But that's not why we're here, Coxsmith. As much as we'd love to give Queensland both barrels for losing a series against basically the team that was beaten by the worst Origin team of all time only 6 months ago. But we're here to talk about finals because in the space of 2 months, we haven't done a podcast. We've chatted a few times and obviously getting through the whole lockdown thing, everybody. And hopefully you can join myself and Coxsmith with being doubly vaxxed as of, for me, tomorrow. And I think you were earlier this week, Coxsmith. Is that right?
Yeah, Sunday. Just gone, 22nd.
And we can report the 5G is excellent. Yours is particularly better than mine. And tomorrow I'll be even better. What I will say, people, is that the season has been underwhelming. Is that the right word, Coxsmith?
Yeah, I can't think of a season where I've been more disinterested, to be perfectly honest. And that's our disinterest combined has probably been why we haven't done a podcast for the last 7 or 8 weeks. But look, I'll always love rugby league. It's just that I've been a little distracted by other things going on or not going on in my life. You know.
You've been growing that mane out, which has been impressive as well, I must admit.
It's
just think Fabio, people. Mate. Think Fabio. I might actually that might be the photo that I put up for.
Put Fabio up.
For some Fabio.
The bird hit him in the face on the
the most beautiful man in the cosmos.
Roller coaster. Look, mate, no, I don't feel very connected to it this year, but I still watch games. I may not be watching the whole 80 minutes, but I'm watching games every weekend. Like most people in lockdown, there's not a lot to do, so you know you watch a bit of
Thursday
footy.
Through Sunday. It's pretty good to be able to turn the TV on and watch some footy.
But you know, there's been certain things in footy in the footy that have driven me a little bit crazy. Referees are a constant, and they're. How
good was that crackdown? Did you enjoy the crackdown? I enjoyed the crackdown.
Yeah, it was good until Magic Round, and then it disappeared, and then it didn't come back. It only comes back in little thought bubbles every now and then. I don't know, but I do think that Grant Atkins is the number one referee at the moment too. That's.
I'm still on the second train. I'm on the second train, and the humdinger, as he said the other day when he threw that up there to the video ref. When I said underwhelming, I was more in the sense that we've got two outstanding sides. One that has been wobbling a little bit without Nathan Cleary, The other one, Melbourne, who are just keep on keeping on and rest half their team and end up still smashing sides. The Rabbitohs getting a huge amount of wins and points together and then coming up against a good side and losing. Manly doing everything they can when Tommy's in the team. The Roosters somehow finding ways to win games with half a squad. The Eagles capitulating, and then a whole bunch of mediocre sides below that. And you'd argue that Parramatta have joined them in that category in the last month or so. I want to go through where the ladder is at the moment. And I've touched on those teams because they're the ones that are going to pique our interest in the next couple of weeks into the semi-finals. I don't think there's any team that's sitting outside that top 6 or top 5 really that has a shred of hope of doing anything beyond week 2, maybe week 3 if miracles line up. And I guess what I wanted to do in this pod was just take a temperature check of the seasons or the years that teams have had. We're not going to spend 3 hours going through 16 teams, but we wanted to sort of just really give a gut feel about what this season has been for each side. Do you want to start at the bottom, Coxsmith, and race through a whole bunch of sides and then end up with a team at the top? I think we should do that.
Let's start in the basement, mate.
We'll take a break. I'll put something in there. I don't know, some old sort of not the footy showism. I was having a bit of nostalgia the other day. I saw a photo on my Facebook feeds of myself, and it was a video actually of me and Nick McInerney kicking footies from the sideline over the goalposts. Yeah, memories back when you could actually go and do things with your mates. So instead, what we'll do is we'll go to a break, we'll come back, and we'll talk about those mighty Bulldogs here on Not The Footy Show, episode 240.
Not the Footy Show.
That's much too early. Prepare to fast forward.
Preparing to fast forward.
Fast forward.
Fast forwarding, sir.
Okay, we're back. It's episode 240. Rob Cox is in the house. Well, not in my house because that would be illegal because we're definitely outside the 5K zone. Coxsmith, and we are going to talk about the Bulldogs because they are not only out of the zone of the finals, they're out of the zone of reserve grade and they're not even playing any more games. The Dogs have won 2 games all season, Coxsmith. They've now got a new GM of football, which I think we both agree is probably the best decision Canterbury could have made in bringing in Phil Gould. Is that true?
I agree. Yep.
What does he do? Because it's not really Trent Barrett's team anymore, is it?
He picks up a clipboard and a whistle, mate. That's what I'd suggest you do, because I really don't think Barrett's got a clue.
It's
just saying as I see it, mate. I'm seeing a team that's running around without a plan.
They've got a plan. I disagree. They've got a plan to complete. And guess what? The team apparently with the best completion rate in rugby league is the Bulldogs, and they have 2 wins in 23 games.
I'm seeing problems everywhere, mate. I'm seeing problems.
Yeah.
I'm seeing problems in their the way that they're playing. I'm seeing problems with their commitment. I'm seeing the way that they've allegedly built, the way that the roster that they've got, that they've bought since Barrett has been there. And I just wonder what the hell's going on. They've bought 3 or 4 centres and 3 wingers. Now they're going to offload Luke Thompson, who admittedly hasn't been the greatest, but at the same time, when he plays, he's making yards. But I don't know, mate. I can't see them getting out of the cellar for a couple of years. They'll be in the bottom 4 for at least till the end of next year. I can't see them getting out of the bottom 4.
They've heavily recruited even since Gus came on board. That's the other thing and it's those signings that you and I both listen to his podcast, and he's been like number 1 fan of how he did things at Penrith. He's been really heavy about, we recruited we didn't recruit players unless we thought they could really help develop our own juniors. He has thrown the kitchen sink at a few players here. And he's openly and greatly, his stuff on Twitter, if you're not following Gus on Twitter, you've got problems because
he's gold on Twitter.
Entertainment Central. And he's so honest about what he's doing at the Bulldogs. Yeah. But what he's doing at the Bulldogs is he's improved their roster. But unless they're willing to play a different style under T. Barrett next year / P. Gould, I just can't see anything of optimism if you're a Bulldogs fan, because they play dour, boring football, and in about 3 games this year, and Andrew Voss has been on it hugely. He sits there and goes for 60 odd minutes and goes, they haven't thrown anything at the other team. But in a couple of games, they've been in it with 20 to go and they started throwing the ball around. And Voss, he just loses his head. He goes, where has this been the whole year? Why aren't they playing like this regularly? And that's something that I'm huge on is I go, why would you bother sending your team out to complete for a whole season if it's not working? Where is the value for your players to show up and know that you're not going to compete because all you're doing is trying to complete? It baffles me.
Yeah. I don't know I don't know what the messaging they're trying to send to the players is. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't particularly like him as a player, but the mixed messages that Flanagan's been getting, he's in 1 week, out the next, in 1 week, out the next. Yeah, have a sit down for 4 weeks, get your head together, come back for one, get out. I don't know if they're trying to make him leave the club or what. But if I was him, I think he got a 4-year deal. I'd be going nowhere. I'd be sitting down going,
right.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving.
Anyway, we'll see what happens with the Dogs
sweep the floors.
with P. Gould running things. But yeah, if you're T. Barrett, you better get used to having the clipboard carrying Philip Gould on the sideline at training pretty much throughout the off season.
And you also better get a few more wins next year, otherwise you'll be unemployed.
Yeah,
that will happen. If they don't start winning, they'll kick him straight out the door, mate.
I'm not going to ask you how many games they're going to win next year. What I will ask you is what percentage chance Gould is the coach sometime next year, the actual official coach.
Official coach? No, I don't think he will. I don't think Gus has any desire to be the official coach. If it was to happen, it'd take something like, an extraordinary board meeting where they just decide to and I think Gus would protect him a little bit and at least carry him till the end of the year. I don't think Gus will hang him out to dry.
Or promote an assistant or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know who they've got on their staff over there. I think George
Furner's the assistant coach. Furner's the assistant coach.
Yeah. Okay. Well, George Arliss is up in North Queensland.
Yeah.
Maybe Furner. I can't see Barrett being a long term unless they can get their ducks in a row and they can win, 35% of their games next year. I can't see Barrett lasting again. That'll be second failure. I believe it's a failure already, but give the man a chance to get the exact roster and then see if he can perform. So anyway, we spent a lot of time talking about the Bulldogs.
I know. We can. I'm going 15% chance Gus is the official coach next year at Canterbury. The Cowboys, things started poorly. Then they righted the ship for a few weeks. And then the T. Payton coaching style has not really borne fruit for them. They're on 14 points after 23 rounds. They're about where we thought they'd be. I'm not going to spend a heck of a lot of time other than to say, I know you don't think Val Holmes is a fullback, but no. I don't think Amiso Tabao Fido is a fullback either.
No.
He's a winger.
I agree.
So if you've got the choice, what's he doing up there? Because poor Jason Taumalolo, so much. I mean, he's had a couple of hand injuries, but so much for getting the best out of him because it hasn't happened.
Oh, well, I think it's the worst year we've seen him play.
Yeah,
to be honest. Jake Clifford is playing a lot better at Newcastle than he was at North Queensland, and I'm not sure why. Maybe he's just happier. Tom Dearden's done nothing since he got to the Cowboys.
Don't worry, Chad's coming.
Well, that'll be a big improvement, mate.
The Townsville Blackhawks.
I can't see them doing any better than they did this year, next year. Unless something massive changes.
They had a lot of money up in a few players. Scott Drinkwater's trying. He tries to create things, but it's just it's a team that I don't think plays a very interesting style of football, and they've got a lot of so first graders coming through, let alone being paid a lot of money. And I just can't.
Have you ever seen a player? Have you ever seen a player like Cohen Hess go from being, Queensland?
For 2 years, how good was he?
Oh, like the next best, the next thing, the next best second row we've got. And I don't know how many other clubs he wouldn't make first grade in, but I dare say it might be half the competition. Something's
He's shown
happening.
Occasionally something where you go, I remember that Cohen Hess, but it's been few and far between again this season. Look, they've got issues, the Cowboys, and they need to win one of their last two games to get past the Broncos effectively and not finish 15th. So let's go to Kevy's Broncos. I saw an interview he did with Andrew Voss on his morning show where he pretty much admitted that he wasn't acting like the person that he thought he was before the season. He said that the pressure and the expectation and the scrutiny in Brisbane got to him, and he started acting not like the Kevy that he wanted to be. I ask you this question: would it be a good thing for Kevin Walters not to be coach at Brisbane?
No, I think Kevin wants it. I think Kevy wants to be coach. I think he wants to be successful as a coach. So I don't know if it'd be good for him not to be coach. I don't know who else they've got. Look, I'll summarise their season by saying it started off very Seabold coached like, and it's gotten better. But it didn't get better until probably about 5 weeks ago, I'd say. And it's gotten better. So I think they've improved, but geez, it took a long time to see it. They've got a few new faces there as well.
The forward pack in particular has got a bunch of new faces. Like they've, if you think about the start of the season, what was everyone saying? Oh, this forward pack for Brisbane's one of the best they've ever assembled. Remember that little nugget that was there for 2 years ago? Half the blokes are injured.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something in that.
Yeah.
There really is. There's something to be said for players coming in and actually taking an opportunity. And Milford, it was great to see him play half decently on the weekend. It's a travesty that he hasn't been in first grade all year. I don't care what planet you're on, but you don't get better if he's not in your squad when you're playing Tyson Gamble and you're playing Dearden at the start of the year and Brody Croft. Yeah. It's he's now going. He's off to the Bunnies next year.
Isn't that weird? Do you find that weird? They've got Adam Reynolds and the Bunnies. It didn't seem like the Bunnies really wanted to hold on to Adam Reynolds.
No,
they kind of just let him go. It was like, well, well, you can test your worth. We'll only give you 2 years. We're not going to give you 3. So basically, they showed him the door.
I think the thing with, and we'll get to South a bit later, but from the Reynolds point of view, I think South's situation was we don't want to be paying this bloke $1 million in 2 years' time or 3 years' time.
Yeah,
that was their theory.
I get that, but he's been a pretty good club man. And I think at the end of your career, I mean, I don't know what money he's going to be getting at the Broncos, and I don't know what was offered at South, but geez, you'd think that they would give him some kind of a sweetener for being a bit of loyalty, and they've been loyal to him too. Fair enough. I mean, it's a two-way street. But if they offered him 800 or 850 a year, why not offer him 3 years and give him 600 in the last year? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a salary cap.
Brisbane get him. Brisbane needed someone like this. Will he take them to the promised land? No, he won't.
No,
not with this team. But he might improve them. And I guess rounding back to Milford, Adam Reynolds and Milford next to each other, I don't mind that combination. That's not without some similarities to the old C Walker combo. Let's be honest.
Well, that's right. Milford could have played his natural game and not worried about organising anything. Probably not even worried about ever kicking a ball either, to be fair. So, yeah, I mean, hey, you know what? I hope Milford. I love the way Milford used to play. I was a big fan. But he just didn't. It's just a little too late, But it was good to see that he's still got a bit to go.
Yeah.
And,
I wanted him at Canberra. Yeah. I wanted Stuart to.
You wanted him back?
To get him back. And I've wanted him back since the story of him basically being on the outer at Brisbane. I just thought sign him up halfway through the season. Just give him a chance, see what happens. Fullback.
Okay.
That's what I'd play him.
Look,
but I mean, having said that, I'd play him at halfback at Canberra because S. Williams ain't getting the job done. Bring on the Matt Frawley era. Brisbane.
As far as the Broncos, as far as the Broncos go, though, mate, I think they'll go better next year.
Yeah, 6 wins from 23 games. Sorry.
Yeah, I reckon. So what have they got? 6 wins from 23.
23.
So they've won.
Actually, that can't be right. Oh, it includes this weekend. Sorry. It keeps the weekend that I'm looking at. I've done the predictor. That's why it says that they've won more games.
So five wins.
5 wins. I believe. Let me just double check that before I sound like a fool. No, they've got 6 wins from 22. There you go. I
think next year, mate, they'll be sniffing around the 8, but at the bottom, right down the bottom end of the 8. They'll be.
I'm with you there because the comp's mediocre, so all you got to do is improve a couple of wins and
just mate. All they've got to do is if they win 4 more games, they're sniffing around the bottom of the 8.
Final thing on Brisbane: is Payne Haas worth a Jason Taumalolo contract?
No, I don't think anyone is.
Completely agree.
I don't think anyone is worth a 10-year. I mean,
not a
the
forward.
Cowboys now.
No way.
So what's Taumalolo in now? Is this his 6th year of that 10-year agreement?
I think he signed that at the end of 16. So 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. This next year will be 6th year of this 10.
Okay, so
approximately.
Mate, so he's got 4 years after next year, and he's not going great this year.
And he's got a coach who doesn't want to play extended minutes. Anyway, the good thing about Payne Haas is he's young enough at the moment to play the extended minutes. I wouldn't give him 10 years and $1 million a season. I'm sorry, you set yourself up to have a situation where you end up having a player like Taumalolo now, where the coach starts out thinking himself and says, "Well, I've got to make him last for 10 years, please." Also,
Mate,
Payne Haas got paid massive money without playing an NRL game, so see your contract out, son.
On that, mate, I don't think that any player over the age of 23 should be on anything more than 3 years, 3-year agreements. There's been a few that I would probably, things like Nathan Cleary. I think he got 4 years at Penrith.
Yeah.
But when he signed that, he was 21, and he'd already shown he'd played Origin, I think.
What's the value for the player signing a 10-year deal anyway? Because you're only costing yourself money about 3 or 4 years down the track, surely.
Well, I'll tell you what it is, mate. I mean, the Taumalolo agreement is worth 10 million over 10, right? But it wasn't worth $1 million a year. The way that they did it was the first year was worth 700, and it incrementally went up until it got to over $1 million. So this is a worst case scenario for the Cowboys because once he gets into year 6 or 7, then he's on $1 million, and then he goes over the $1 million.
Yeah.
And
in his early 30s.
Totally.
With a lot of meters in the legs.
Oh yeah. So I couldn't sign any player to a 10-year agreement, and it wouldn't matter anyone, none of them in the competition now. Even Cleary right now, I wouldn't sign him to a 10-year deal.
Even Tommy.
No, I mean Tommy's too injury prone anyway for a 10-year agreement. I mean they're all injury prone. What player that plays NRL gets through for 10 years without a good injury or a season-ending injury? It's the nature of the beast. Don't sign players to 10 years. Don't even think about it.
Tigers, who can they sign for 10 years? I'm sure there's someone available. At $1 million a season. Look, we discussed Tiger Town. We'll probably do a bit more of a look at Tiger Town after the next episode. I think that probably makes sense once we get back into a bit of rhythm with the pod. But I don't think there's anything in there that either of us are surprised by. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I've only watched the first one in Tiger Town. So, yeah, I thought it was all right. I don't think there's anything in there that really surprises me. I think that there were some punches pulled in it. I don't think we're seeing everything.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot that's surprising me. As far as their season goes this year, I said it probably halfway through the year, maybe a bit earlier. They need a halfback. They don't have one. Their halfback ain't getting the job done, and he's not going to get the job done at the Tigers. Yeah. He may be able to be resurrected at another club and do the job because he's got talent, but he spent too long at that club.
He's not the alpha, is he?
No,
he's not the alpha.
He's not. and I still don't think Dewey is a 5'8". I mean, I know he had a decent game the other week.
Totally
at
agree
5'8". I'd rather see him and Dane Laurie swap when Dane's fit, playing Dane Laurie playing 6.
I don't know if Laurie's body could handle it. That's the concern I'd have.
I know he's not very big. but there's a few small 5'8s around.
I still reckon Senna's spot, but yeah.
I think. You reckon the coach will go? I think he's gone.
I just can't see how he or the CEO survive past Tiger Town.
Yeah.
It hasn't.
I don't think.
It hasn't changed your mind about him, I guess is the way that I would describe it.
Yeah. I don't think he should go, to be honest. I don't know what other coach they're going to find that's going to do a better job and be more passionate. But I think he will go. I'm not sure of the CEO. The CEO, mate, they call him Teflon for a reason. Nothing really sticks.
I did. If you haven't seen it yet. Actually, They did a fly on the wall of him meeting the guy who runs Meriton Apartments, the old bloke, who's worth like some ridiculous amount of money.
Triggerboff.
That's the one. And I encourage it. Watch it, and then we'll reconvene. I thought it was set up to try and show how great a relationship Pascoe had with him.
Okay.
Let's just say I didn't buy much of what I watched. Anyway, Tigers, speaking of not buying what I've seen, they've lost a bunch of games this year. They've lost 14 matches. They've won 8, but they've lost, I think, 2 or 3 of the last 3 or 4 games that they just had to win from a top 8 perspective with insipid performances and have just rolled out the door in terms of the finals. But they don't deserve to be there. And, quite frankly, good riddance, because if this is the way this team plays, you don't deserve to be anywhere near the finals.
Well, mate, they've lost 4 or 5 games this year that they shouldn't have. They've literally lost 4 or 5. The most notable one was when they got beaten at home on the Tommy Rodonigus weekend against North Queensland or the Titans?
Yeah,
North Queensland. Disgraceful. And I don't know why Madge didn't sack 5 or 6 of them for the next week, just to make a point. There were blokes out there not trying, dead set, not trying. And if any weekend you're going to have a go, it's at home.
You would have thought so
for a weekend.
And the last few weeks,
like a Tommy weekend.
The last few weeks with like a final spot there to be taken, and like the way they rolled over against the Sharks last weekend after getting back in the game, the Dragons. Speaking of rolling over,
and speaking of picking up good Tigers players, 2022.
What is doing there? You're a Dragons fan, and I know we share barbs about certain things. What Anthony Griffin goes out and he signs Gerard Beale on a trial contract. All of a sudden, he's playing every minute of every game. Josh Maguire gets rescued from the Cowboys and is playing significant minutes. But Moses Mbai, when you've got Jaden Sullivan, Terrell Sloan, that Amone kid, why do you sign Moses Mbai?
I'm not going to swear, okay?
Thank you. It saves me from editing it.
I got to be honest with you, mate. Just between you and I.
Yeah, there's no one listens to the show anyway.
Yeah, but just between you and I can't figure out for the life of me why they signed Griffin as a coach.
I'm with you there.
I can't figure it out, mate. I'm not seeing the same game he's seeing, and everyone that I speak to, including a lot of NRL and ex-NRL players, agree with me. Trust me on this. Clueless. Honestly.
What was the mentality in signing him? Was it, we're going to become a defensive team? What made you?
I don't know.
Oh.
How did he get across the line in front of Dean Young? And I'm not saying I think Dean Young would have been the answer, but how did he get over the line in front of Dean Young? I don't know.
Right heritage, old Dean Young.
Mate, I mean, why hasn't Dufty been playing?
Well, he's got dropped again. He's got dropped again.
What's Dufty done? Has Dufty taken a dump in someone's shoe? A la Julian O'Neill? I mean, honestly, has he? In the slossy shoe. What has Dufty done? Dufty's taken a dump somewhere. I don't know what's doing, but Duffy is a poison chalice.
Let's work this out. Matt Duffy has been dropped multiple times this year. Corey Norman plays pretty much every week.
Yep.
Explain it to me because I can't work it out.
Go figure. Then they play Jack Bird at fullback.
Oh,
if there's someone who's not
for your sake and my sake, and the fact that I am a one game from being guaranteed 3 meals in a row. Let's just move on from the Dragons, shall we?
But let me just answer your question about Mbai, mate.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get where he fits into the equation. I'm not sure where he fits into the team. Is he a 6? Is he a 7? Is he a 1? Is he a 9? Or is he a 14? I'm not sure. But look.
So next year they've got McCullough and Mbai as their hookers. You're not improving any. Like, what are you expecting out of that? Like,
where's the good young blokes? McCullough.
Well, his name's Reece Robson, and he's currently up at North Queensland.
He's playing the Cowboys. Now, did they sell him or did they loan him?
They let him go. They didn't choose to keep him. They had McInnes.
Australian schoolboy.
They had McInnes.
Australian schoolboy.
And then they got rid of McInnes.
McInnes gone to the Sharks. They're going to end up. I think maybe trying to get Steve Renouf and Alan Cann to play for the Dragons, because it seems that it's just the resting place of the old Broncos players. Mate,
surely Peter Ryan, a guy could tackle, might be a good
Rhino.
Well.
Yeah.
Darren Smith's probably running around as well. Let's bring him back as well. Dragons, let's move on. Let's just
put a line.
Mathematically in contention, so are the Tigers, but it's not going to happen.
No,
the Warriors,
not going to happen.
Funny one, because I'm not a huge Nathan Brown fan. I don't think he's not inspiring appointment as coach. He's obviously says some good things, and some players react, some players don't. But you get to the end of every season with the Nathan Brown team and you go, I don't get half of what he did this year. There's some matches where you see a little bit and you go, okay, that might be a footy team here. He had Sean O'Sullivan play in the halves ring for 3 straight weeks and they won 3 games. The moment Chad Townsend was available this last round against Brisbane, he dropped Sean O'Sullivan and brought in Shossullivan, Shossy Shoe. I'm having issues with that.
Schlossy.
And he brought in Chad Townsend, who's not going to be there next year, has not shown anything at the poor old Warriors. He's been injured for most of his loan there, or signing there. What message does that send? Because they were actually mathematically in with a chance. If they'd beaten Brisbane, they're on the same amount of points as the Sharks and the Titans and the Raiders going into the last 2 weeks of the season. And they were going to play the Titans and they're going to play the Raiders. What is Nathan Brown doing?
To answer your question, probably the same as what Griffin's doing, mate. I'm unsure. There's some things that these guys do, and I mean, I'm not saying that I know the ins and outs of everything and every week and every player, but I certainly know that, when you're on a good thing, stick to it. And yeah, I'm unsure. I don't think Nathan Brown is as bad a coach as Griffin, right? But he's not far behind in that little race. Because there's some things that he's done nearly his whole career that have been like, wow, why? What happened there? Just eyebrow raising, Mate, the Warriors, when we talk about the Warriors this year and last year, the hat still has to come off. They're away from home. I'm sure there's players within their organisation that couldn't give a rat's and are happy to be here. But I'm sure equally there's players that just really want to see their family. They're probably not married and have kids or anything, or maybe they are and they're here with them, but they certainly would have family back home that they haven't seen. So not easy to get them up every week to, because they really don't get a lot of downtime. They're here, they're on the job, like fly in, fly out workers, except they haven't been able to fly out. So I've got to say though, I really do hope. I said this last time we had a podcast. I really do hope the NRL work out a way to pay them back.
I'd love to see it. I don't know if they'll do it.
I would hope that next year that they get that payback, and maybe the first 8 rounds or something like that, they get to play every home game, or some whatever it is. It won't be enough, but I hope they get something. But either way, the Warriors won't be playing after the week after next. There.
No, Avery Swells is the bright spot. Obviously, he's been a real the breath of fresh air.
Great player.
Cliche comes to mind. And remember, he's 19. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to have situations where it doesn't work out for him. That's how you get better. You learn from those things. The great players of the 80s and the 90s that we all saw, they weren't perfect every week, everybody. Just settle down for 2 seconds and admire what
is
he's
his
doing.
Is his future a 1 or a 6?
I think it's a 1. I think you want a player like him not being encumbered by having to play down this side every time or this side every time and making 20 tackles. You want him. He's 19. He's got at least 5 years of good fullback play ahead of him before his body maybe starts to give up on him. I just don't think there's any reason to think that he's anything but a 1 at this stage. Raiders, let's go to them. The story of the Raiders season in a nutshell is they have lost a lot of games against bad sides and they now find themselves on the outside looking in to the top 8. I know you told me many a time your theories on the situation with the players and the coaches. But where we are right now with the Raiders, they're within spitting distance of the 8. That would be considered, when you weigh up the whole season, a success for them, given how the season's played out. But what do you see in regards to Canberra? Because for 2 years there, they were in the top handful of teams, and I just wanted to see what do you think of this year? Is it an aberration or is it the downward slope?
Geez, we saw some horrible stuff from at the start of the year.
So bad. Well, they won the first 3 games, and they lost that match against the Warriors when they led by like 14 with 10 to go, and then they've just fallen in a heap since.
We've seen them a little bit like the Tigers. We've seen them lose games they shouldn't have lost. Quite a few of them, more than the Tigers. I mean, if Canberra had converted all of their halftime leads,
I think they're only still in 7th or 8th. They're not necessarily way up the ladder, but yeah, it would have been different.
But they're solid. They're solidly in the 8.
Yeah,
probably without as much stress or hair loss to Coach Stewart. Mate, I don't know. Like Ricky's an intense character. I've said this before. I would have loved to have played footy for Ricky or with Ricky. I think he would have been sensational. But maybe that just wears out after a while. Maybe that energy, some players, it loses its effectiveness. I'm not too sure. But I do know that they've suffered this year from not having a halfback. Sam Williams, as he tries, I know you're not a fan, he certainly tries his butt off.
He's
since
just
George,
limited, man. He's just limited.
Yeah, he's limited on talent, but he tries. But since George went home, when he packed up his bat and ball and went home, they seem to fall off the road. It's been a tough year for them, for the Raiders. I think that they're better than what we're seeing where they are at the moment on the ladder. I'd like to see them get into the 8. I like the Raiders. But look, I don't know what to put it down to, because there's a lot of internal stuff going on there that even Gould, Gus was kind of pontificating about.
He was, wasn't he?
Earlier in the year.
Yeah.
And he was talking about going to dinner with Ricky back when we could go to dinner with friends. And talking about it, and apparently he did catch up with him for that dinner, and may have given him some advice, and I don't know if it worked or not. But look, I think there were some internal problems there. There was obviously some player disharmony, either with the coach or with each other. And we've had some reports come out just in this last week about Curtis Scott and in the shenanigans. And the Raiders they basically dumped him this week or last weekend, and he's gone. So there's obviously been some disruption there, ever since Bateman up and left as well. So I'm not sure. It might remain one of the great mysteries. I mean, have you got any theories on what you think's happening?
I think what they've found this year, and this is just, observation from left field, but they got through on that. Ricky always talked about the hard work and the effort, and he never doubted what he got out of his team, and that reaped rewards for 2 straight years there. They got to a grand final, they got to a prelim, and the talent was there on the field. This year, they had a bunch of games where that wasn't enough, and then it wasn't enough the next week, and then it wasn't enough the next week, and before you know it, they've lost 7 of 8, and the confidence that you build on those 2 years before is just gone. It's evaporated. And my biggest criticism of Ricky, and I guess the way that Canberra have played, is that they've played dour football. It's been like, we're going to go back to that, trenches and the effort, but it's not getting results. And I look at Canberra's side, and I look at Jack Whiten, who has been, the word I used at the start of the show was underwhelming for the season. That is Jack Whiten in a nutshell this year, is underwhelming. But there's been no release of the shackles with the Raiders. And it really surprised me. I thought that Ricky might have unleashed Tom Starling at 9 and moved Hodgson to 7 because he could play that role. It didn't happen. He persisted with the Sam Williams controlling the game theory. And we are where we are. To borrow the old Bill Parcells things the statement I've used a couple of times, you are what your record says you are. And right now, Canberra 9-13.
Yeah, well, another old saying. I don't know if it was Bill or maybe someone else said, you in football you get what you deserve, and it's 90% correct. I think that saying.
Yeah.
More than playing Hodgson at 7 and doing that kind of merry-go-round, I've been surprised with a bit of Ricky's management of bench this year.
Starling's been criminally
well,
underused.
Starling, that and also your best player, Papali'i,
on the bench for half the game.
Sometimes I'm not sure, but anyway, look, at least you guys have still got the chance to play finals football, and you're not relying on other teams losing. I think. Well, you might be.
Yeah, if we won both our games, we get in. I think is the
get in. Okay.
It should.
So
if
you win. But you got to beat the Roosters in the last round.
Got to beat the Warriors this week, and then they got to beat the Roosters, and then have and then the Titans and Sharks can't win both their games. They can only win one.
Right.
We'd leapfrog one of those two.
So so you're more of a chance than the Dragons or the Tigers, or
the Warriors.
Or the Warriors. But you're right about hold on. You're right about Whiten. Whiten has been the most disappointing player this year compared to his performances last year. And that could just be a big confidence singer. It could be a reflection of what's going on at Canberra. Don't know.
Yeah.
So.
The underlying thing for me with Whiten is that when the game's been there for a player to step up, quite frankly, he has not. He hasn't gone looking for the ball, and he hasn't imparted himself on the match. The one time I remember this year him doing it, and we actually lost the match, was the game against South in Canberra, where there were 2 disallowed tries to him. When he tried, he absolutely took the game by the scruff of the neck and tried to get us across the line. Since then, I just be honest, it just hasn't been there, and he has not. He's let Sam Williams be the guy, and unfortunately, Sammy Williams, he can't be that
not
guy.
the guy.
The Titans, if they'd had Cam Smith out of retirement or as that late season,
hey, he still might come.
He still might come. We're still getting loans. Freddie Lussick just joined the Dragons. They're outside. They're currently equal points with Cronulla, but outside the 8 on differential. It's a pass mark for me because they're in the mix with 2 rounds to go. But I'm gonna call out the management of D Fafita from Jay Holbrook, and even to a degree Jamal Fogarty. A few weeks back, they won a few games. They played the Bulldogs, they played the Cowboys, and they played somebody else. And they put a number on all 3 sides, okay? I think it was the Titans, the Dragons possibly. And they just ripped them off. And Holbrook went, Dave, I'm going to re-energize you. I'm going to put you on the bench the first 20, 25 minutes. I'm going to bring you on. You're going to run at the most weak defender, and we're going to carve up. And it worked, okay? It worked. But then in consecutive weeks, they played the Rabbitohs and the Storm. And the first game against the Rabbitohs, he left him off the field for 25 minutes. It was only 12-0, but it felt like it was more than that. And the game was pretty much gone. The comp is so average in the teams down from like 5 down that you can have that approach and you can get results. But I don't understand with a player like Fafita why you don't want him on the field for 80 minutes. They're decisions that are in the Nathan Brown category and the Anthony Griffin category. Yeah, you're out thinking yourself. Like, you're paying him $1 million. He's got to learn how to defend. He doesn't learn how to defend on the bench because that's his biggest issue. Because he doesn't put his body on the line like a lot of other players. And I'm just that's the observation. But when he runs the ball, he's a machine. So you're going to pay a guy $1 million a year to play 55 minutes a game and potentially come onto the field when the game's lost. If I don't make the eight,
and you don't want him to defend either.
Yeah,
he sounds like a NFL player.
Yeah, he's a running back.
Just bring him on for the running back job.
Once you get inside the 20 meter zone, just put him on to punch the touchdown in.
Yeah.
To me, that's a bit of a thing on the Titans where I just go, they're not a team where you can get to that stage of being selective in how you use your players.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have the core enough of a team that, Tino's been good for him. Fodawaker's been great. Jared Wallace has had almost a career year this year. They've got through the season with Mitch Rain and Aaron Clark at hooker. Fogarty's been good when he's been healthy, but then he was healthy and they kept going with Sexton. That was against South. I don't know. I just feel like the Titans are a team that this year really should have been used as building for next year. I just feel like Holbrook got a little bit too clever, and I think it might end up costing them a spot in the 8.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, is Ash Taylor's future still up in the air?
Because he's got dropped this week. Yeah.
Right. So
they've gone with Tyrone Peachey at 6.
Right. So it sounds like they won't be staying with him for next year.
No.
They won't be staying there next year. Ash Taylor to me, I reckon would work at somewhere like Canberra. He might not like the weather, but I reckon someone like Stewart would get the best out of Ash Taylor. I really do.
Not going to be on the Gold Coast. I think that's pretty clear because I reckon they'll either transition Sexton into 6 or Fogarty into 6 next year. I don't think you'll see any other combo in the halves for them.
So do you give them a pass? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I do. I think even if they miss the 8, it's been a year of improvement. They'd only just missed the 8 last year, I think, in the wash up. But it's all about next year.
Just for the record, I think everyone below the Raiders, for me, apart from the Broncos, gets a fail.
Oh, Broncos are a fail. I'm
not going to
this year.
I'm not going to give them a total fail. I'm going to give them a 50 out of 100. Only because the improvement that we've seen.
What about a 4 out of 8? And
we can give them a 4 out of 8 or a 3 out of 6 if you want to go there.
Mathematics. It's our strong point here and Not the Footy Show.
Yeah.
But that's half the team, so ironically enough.
Great.
I think we'll go to a break and we'll race through the top 8 because we said we'd be really quick and we've ended up with 5 minutes on every single side.
You spent 25 minutes on the Bulldogs, mate. Come on.
We'll be back after the break on episode 240.
Not the Footy Show.
No, go past this part. In fact, never play this again.
Okay, it's finals time because these teams are actually in the finals right now. Right, do you want to go back to the Bulldogs, Rob? Are you sure? You sure don't want to go back to the Bulldogs?
No, let's leave the Bulldogs alone, mate. Let's leave Trent. Trent can just simmer in his own juices over there at the Bulldogs.
He can. The Sharks are an 8th. They've been very ordinary this year. They sacked their coach after a month. Josh Hannay hasn't exactly righted the ship, but they've had a few good games here and there. And if you want to bring back the Parcells quote, they're 9-13 as well, but they're actually in pole position for 8th spot. Their last 2 weeks, I think they play the Broncos this week, then they get the Storm. They beat the Broncos, they probably are in the 8th, even if they get smashed by the Storm in the last round, because the Titans will have to win one of the 2 games and improve their differential to get past them. Cronulla, meh. That's how I wrap them up. Just meh.
I'm interested. Do you reckon Fitzy's been calling in via Zoom to speak to some
Hane's got a job there next year, so
players.
you can guarantee that he has been.
And if so, isn't that a bit weird? Isn't it a bit strange? He's coaching another team at the moment. He may not be head coach, but
when was the last time they played? Actually, that's
the
a really good.
Roosters.
Yeah. Any ideas?
No idea.
Let me just.
But I wonder
while you talk.
I wonder if both teams are staying in the same hotel complex. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because I know
the
the
last
Knights and the
time
Roosters were.
the Sharks played the Roosters was in round 5. So I would say a lot of phone calls have been made between now and then, because there's no way that they've impacted anything that's been happening on the other team. Interesting.
Yep.
Do you give?
Although they might play each other in the finals, will they?
No, it's entirely possible. If the Roosters finish 5th and the Sharks play 8th, I guess the phone calls stop then for about a week, and then and then Fitzy walks out the door the moment the Roosters get knocked out of the finals. Look, they're
they lost a couple of players.
They lost Johnson
and
to
Chad Townsend. I know you don't
Wade
like
Graham,
Chad, but
Wade Graham to the head stuff.
Look,
they've done. So, the story for me for them is Will Kennedy has been phenomenal this year. A player that last year was pretty good in stages. He's got some ability. This year, he's been the straw that stirs the drink for the Sharkies, and he's been really, really good for them.
I also like their centre, their back rower centre. What's his name? Talakai, is it?
Theo Sifa Talakai. He's playing second row centre. Etc.
I like him. He's a machine.
Connor Tracy has been
Rudolph
Connor Tracy has been outstanding for them this year. He is he's a rugby league player. He just has a crack and makes a difference. I'm a big fan of Connor. As I said, they've got to get through the Broncos this week. They win that and they should make the 8, but they don't really want to be getting to the last round and having to beat the Storm. Newcastle, mate. When they've had everybody available, they've looked okay.
Yeah,
but
I
really don't rate O'Brien much in his tactics. I think a lot of his ills are solved by the MPS K Ponga combination when they're on the field. I think you mentioned Clifford arriving and doing a job for him for the year. I don't understand his use of Connor Watson at the best of times there. He is a difference maker, and for some reason
neither does Connor.
That's Connor Watson's taken less money to go to the Roosters. That tells you everything you need to know about
everything you need to know.
Everything. He's got a role there at the Knights to play that role at 13 if he wanted to, and he's taking a bench role at the Roosters next year. That tells you everything you need to know. And he's leaving his best mate, Kalen Ponga. Astounding.
But is he?
The Roosters need another fullback, do they? Teddy Parsett, like everybody else has been saying.
I don't know. They might not need a fullback, but he can play other places.
5'8".
He can
Bring Nathan Brown.
That's where he'll end up. That's where he'll end up. I think he'll be a 6.
What do you reckon with Newcastle? I think their form of the last month's been a little bit of an illusion. I don't think they're a very good football side. I
don't trust Newcastle to win games that matter. That's how I feel about Newcastle. You wouldn't put the house on them. You wouldn't go and gamble on them because it's so. I know there's no sure bet in gambling, but geez, I'd feel unsafe putting $10 on them. And I don't gamble. I sound like a seasoned gambler, mate. No, look, I think you're right. I think Mitchell Pearce, when he's up and when he's playing well, and they've got Ponga firing at the back, and and Clifford's kind of doing a job for. I think they're a little bit more reliable. But as soon as they lose one of those links in the chain, they're not like the Storm. They can't win a game,
not at all.
Without Ponga. Well, they've won games, but not many without Ponga or Pearce. So, or Pearce. So, yeah, I'll give them a pass mark for the year for merely ending up where they are. But, geez, I can't imagine them going too deep.
Well, 3 weeks ago, they were on the outside looking in on the top 8 with a horrible differential. Now they're in 7th and they're pretty much safe. That's the competition in a nutshell, right there.
Oh, it's a soft competition.
Yeah, Parramatta. Hi, Parramatta.
What's the matter, Parramatta? Mate, look, with Para, I'm not sure the coach is going to last. I'm not sure the coach has got too many more answers.
Yeah.
And I don't like to blame it all on the coach, because I think there's some attitude there as well with Para. We know that Moses has been called a flat track bully a couple of times.
Downhill spare from me, yeah.
For those that don't understand what that means, it just means he when things are going right, he's good. But when the backs are against the wall, he goes missing. And a lot of people say, oh, but that's halfbacks for you. If the forwards aren't going forward, what can the halfback do? Well, I'll tell you what the halfback can do. I watched a game last week with Penrith and Souths.
Yeah.
And Souths were running roughshod over Penrith.
You wrote them off. You said Penrith are gone. You messaged me and said they're gone.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, I did. But Cleary kept playing football. Cleary kept, getting his kicks in, and it really was Cleary that kept the rudder going, and they weathered the storm. Parramatta don't have a win like that in them.
No.
When Parramatta get 12 behind, it's all over, baby.
Yeah.
There's not too many teams that will lose to Parramatta if they get a 12-point head start. Look, I find them a little bit. I find Parramatta a little bit soft underbelly, a bit spineless. And I know that sounds harsh, and I don't mean it for the individual players. I just think as a team, they're a little bit. They roll over.
There's nothing
easily
to get excited about if you're a Parramatta fan, based on what you've seen in the last 6 or 8 weeks. It's.
They've got the cattle.
Oh,
they do have the.
Reid
No,
Marnie's not
I
there.
actually do. Well, no, but when
He's
Reid
big
is
for
fit,
those
I'm
forwards.
talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 2022. They've got cattle to go deeper and be a bit more formidable than they are. I don't know if they've got cattle to win a premiership. They're a couple of players short, but I think with a better coach, and I'm not saying that Freddie's the answer, that everyone keeps tossing his name up, but I think with a better coach, they might go a bit deeper than where they're going to finish this year. But yeah, halfway through the year or 2/3 the way through the year, I thought these guys are all right, but just recently I've seen, from the bits and pieces I've seen in the last 6 or 7 weeks,
they're predictable to me. I don't see anything fresh with them, but there is some hope, I think, in that is Dylan Brown needs to be the focal point of that team. It needs to go off Marnie and into Dylan Brown. And the reason I say that is the way that Moses plays is predictable. The way Gutherson chimes into that back line is very predictable. There's nothing. You just have to focus on stopping Moses' kicking game and put heaps of pressure on him, and you got to stop Gutherson's ability to wrap around the back on the left-hand side. And that's Parramatta. And that's why you saw the best of their football when Reid Marnie was doing a lot of their dummy half. And I just think that Dylan Brown is a really good player and needs to be not just stationed out on an edge all the time. And whether that's a new coach that needs to bring that in, because, I feel for Parramatta fans in some respects, the ones that all started supporting Parramatta from 1987 onwards. I feel for them. anyone who was before then and enjoyed all the premierships, I don't feel any sympathy for you whatsoever, because you saw your team win multiple comps. Suck it.
Imagine that. Imagine getting on the bandwagon.
No. Well, Bob Lidner is the poster boy for that. They signed Bob Lidner was as a hero of the Queensland competition. He's a State of Origin superstar, and he signed with Parramatta to replace Ray Price, and they sucked, and he lasted a year. And that's pretty much the long and the short of Parramatta. Manly, we're getting to some good teams now. Tommy is amazing. Tommy has had a season that I wish would end up with the Dally M. I don't know if it's going to happen, because I don't know if he'll have played enough games compared to maybe a Cody Walker, who will get a lot of votes because of that stretch for the Bunnies of winning 10 in a row. Walker could conceivably get like 20-something points from those 10 games. I want Tommy to be player of the year based on just the MVP argument, because he is.
Yep.
Cleary has had an amazing season that everyone forgets about, because that's the way that people's minds are wired. They ignore everything from about Origin, from round one to Origin, and then everything after that, they think, oh, that's the best player in the comp.
They remember the back end of the year.
And I feel sorry for Cleary in that regard. But Tommy is just irresistible. He is playing like Brett Mullins did for 2 years for the Raiders, but with more ball playing ability. He's had that impact. He's 94, 95. Mullins was phenomenal, but Tommy makes everyone else better. Brett just made amazing things happen. And Tommy is probably my favorite player to watch, just ahead of Teddy. And the reason that I like him more than Teddy is that what he does, he seems a little bit more, I'll set up somebody else in my head first. But if I need to do it myself, I will. Teddy's a little bit more, I'll create something with myself. And if that's not working, then I'll make something else happen, because I'm good enough to get away and create that for other people. And that's not a slow on Tedesco. You got to work with what works for you.
Oh yeah.
Tommy is making Jason Saab and Ruben Garrick look like Noah Nadruku and Ken Nagas. He really is.
Yeah.
Or Willie Kahn and Michael Hancock. Pick your great wing combinations.
Yeah. Tommy's a special player. And you kind of likened him to Mullins. And I agree. The only difference between them two is, I think, well, two differences. Mullins is probably a little bit quicker, and Tommy's a lot bigger. Tommy's a big body, and can knock people over.
Height-wise, I think they're very similar, actually, from memory.
Yeah, I think
the body shape of Mullins was a lot leaner.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think Tommy's just like 6'2", so he's quite tall. But either way, both great players and both so important to their football teams. Manly haven't won too many games this year without Tommy on the team, on the field. And look, Manly are doing good things. It's not just Tommy, but it's got a lot to do with Tommy. But Daly Cherry Evans is having a really good year.
Great football. Great football.
Yeah, good footballer, and really, Jake, Tommy's brother, is doing really well. They're a good team. I think on their day, if they play their very best game, they could probably beat anyone in the comp.
My issue with that, not so much. I don't disagree with you that on their day that's they could do. They're going to have to do it. If they don't finish in the top four, they have to do it for 4 straight weeks. I don't think they've got that. Yeah,
look, where are they finishing? 4.
They're currently in 5th. They're currently in 5th. And who have they got? They got an easy run. They've got the Bulldogs this week, which could be an absolute bloodbath. And then they end up with the Cowboys. So they'll win both their games. As long as Tommy and
will they
DCE
stay in
both
5th
play.
then?
It all depends on whether the Roosters drop both games. So if the Roosters drop, because the Roosters are 2 points clear. The Roosters on 32 and the Seagulls are on 30. If the Roosters drop both games, then the Seagulls definitely go past them. If the Roosters drop one game, then the Seagulls would go past them on differential. But if the Roosters win both games,
Seagulls want to go past them?
Oh, you want the opportunity to potentially have a week off. You do. I don't think there's any, because the reward of finishing 4th is that you play the Storm, I guess. I think you want to play you want to play the Storm
that week off. You got to really.
I reckon you do.
I think the Storm can bash you in that first week. I mean, to win the comp, you're going to have to beat the Storm sometime. But do you want to try and play them twice?
In saying that, the point you do make though is if you avoid the Storm, actually, I'm not sure completely how that works across the crossover, but yeah, I know what you're saying. I'd prefer to play the Storm straight up, because anyway, you can play them again in the grand final.
I know, but I'd rather the Storm eat the Roosters. You have a relatively easy game against the Sharks, and slide into next week being pretty fresh. Any fresh week, I think, is a good week. You might not get the week off, but either way, Manly are going to go, I think, further in this finals comp than the Roosters.
They should,
because I just think
they should.
I do think they will. I think they've got a better half, a more seasoned, smarter half at this point in their careers. And like I say, Manly on their day, if Penrith or the Storm are a little bit off, Manly can beat them if they have their best game. So, yeah, I'm excited by Manly this year. I don't even like them. I don't like Manly at all.
I hate Manly.
But
I hate Manly, the passion.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
With you. I'm excited by them a little bit. So
I'm not as excited about the Roosters, and they've done a remarkable job to be what they've won 15 of
absolutely
22 games. But that football, that excellence. Look, they've lost players, and you can't discount that.
But look at who they've lost.
This is not the same trench warfare kind of Roosters. And I think that's just fatigue over a number of years. And we definitely covered this off at the end of last year. You know, it was a miracle they'd been managed to stay up for 3 years, and they end up getting knocked out in straight sets. This is the reset year in some respects. It's been accelerated by the fact so many players are out. They've lost half their team, half their starters, if not more.
But not only that, mate. I don't know if you've noticed this, but it seems to me that somebody, I know this is going to sound very conspiracy theory-like.
I like a good conspiracy theory.
Someone has neutered the Roosters, mate. Radley's scared to hit anyone now. I mean, and so is Angus. Like they're not the team they were when those guys were all firing. And I know that I'm sounding a little bit like the old days, but honestly, if Angus and Radley can play the way that the best way they play, teams are intimidated by them. With Jared Weir Hargraves.
Well, let me counter with the JWH thing. He's done a few things this year that surely should have ended in suspensions, and somehow he's skated.
Yeah, because the Roosters fans had already lost Radley for 5 weeks.
And the judiciary felt sorry for him.
Maybe. Anyway, I think the biggest thing though with the Roosters is they've lost Keary. They lost Lamb for a considerable
Keary's the massive
amount of the year. Yeah.
Such a great player.
So Tedesco's really been carrying the team, and Sam Walker's done a really good job. But he's only 10 games, 12 games into his career, something like that. He's doing phenomenally well. He just hasn't got all of the experience he needs. That's all.
Yeah. Look, they've got through with a bit part forward pack. They've had five forwards every week that you go, yeah, they're first grade quality, and then you look at their bench and you go, who? That's the job that I think I give the Roosters and the coaching staff credit, is that they've found ways to cobble together enough minutes out of their forward pack to end up with 15 wins from 22 games. It's been a great effort, but there is a team that just screams out in straight sets if they make the top 4. It is the Roosters. But
that's why I say to you, I don't know if Manly's best option is to try and get into that 4th position.
Okay.
I don't know if I want to play Melbourne in the first week of the finals.
Okay. Now, these next two teams won't play Melbourne in the first week of the finals. That's guaranteed. Let's start with the Bunnies. They won 10 in a row, whatever it was, after they got smashed by the Storm and Panthers I think it was very close to each other at the start of 10 rounds into the season. They have the attacking game to challenge anybody. Gus has been huge on the fact that he thinks their defence is just spineless, to paraphrase him. But that's how he feels about him. My concern with them is that what I saw against Penrith was a team that went hard really early, had the foot in the throat, and didn't finish the job. This is before Cleary started getting them back into the game. And I don't think they're going to get a 12-0 lead against the Panthers next time they play them. I don't think they're going to get a 12-0 lead against the Storm. They may not get a 12-0 lead against Manly, but I think they could come back against Manly. What really worries me about South is that what they can do against ordinary sides is outstanding, and it's ruthless. But I am not as big a fan of Cody Walker's playmaking as some people want to say out there. Just because you've got high try assist numbers doesn't mean that you are the greatest playmaker since Cliff Lyons, as someone anointed him the other day. That man was a genius. Cody is very, very good, but it's same with Cody. And it's similar to the whole Clint Gutherson system at Para. You know what he's going to do. Can you negate it when you see it? Can you also limit his chances by keeping the other team out of your attacking 20? That's the thing with South. That I just think that the ticket on South is that if Damien Cook can't run a muck at dummy half, the space that Reynolds and Walker then create off the back of that space just isn't there. And we saw it in the second half against the Panthers. Cody didn't have a lot of answers. He really didn't. And that's my concern with South.
Cookie was pretty quiet last week, I thought, on the grand scheme of things. Even in their first 25 minutes, he didn't do a whole lot. They looked after him. Penrith, that looked after him. And I don't know. I know that they had 12 points on Penrith. And I know that Penrith had a little bit of a wobbly wheel on. But, you know, I thought to myself, I sent you a text saying Penrith are going to probably lose this. And probably about 4 or 5 minutes later, I was sure they would, because they started to make inroads. I don't know if that's South's best. If that's South's, I think there's three other teams in the top.
Yeah.
Three other teams in the top 5 that can beat them.
Yeah.
You know, and we know who they are, including Manly. So yeah, I don't know. I like South. I like what they do when they play a lot through the middle. You know, like when they get Cam Murray working and Damien Cook and you know, and then they play their 1 or 2 backs plays. But I think the key, the real key is to keep playing through the middle with South. When they go too much to the edge and it falls over, it's almost like they lose a little bit of confidence when their usual tricks aren't working. But that's where they looked. They really looked dangerous last week through the middle. Cookie wasn't doing that much, but Murray was making inroads and Burgess was making inroads.
Tola was playing. Yeah, he's a big back in.
Yeah. So, you know, the key I think is to keep running, keep going through the middle. You know, with South, for South to do that. But they've got to be a lot more, like you say, foot on the throat, and don't let the pressure off. I'm sure they didn't mean to do that last week, but yeah, I really can't see them. I hope I'm wrong in a way, because I like South.
They've got a team that I'm happy to say has won the comp this year if they win it. Like it's a team that I go, that's a premiership winning team. It really is. It's got the quality, the Latrell at fullback, etc. But my biggest worry with South is on the defensive side of the ball. Cody Walker and Dane Gagai defending next to each other. That is where I'm going every day, every Sunday, every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday.
That's where Penrith went.
You know? I am hammering down that edge, and I'm getting rewards. And
that's exactly
can Uncle
what
Benny
Penrith
fix
did.
that? I don't know. I don't know if he can.
I don't think so.
There was something very telling said by Cooper Cronk on the Matty Johns podcast last night. He pretty much wrote off South as long as Wayne Bennett was coach in this competition.
Okay.
I don't know how it got through to the people that quickly, but it was.
Cooper might see something there that. Let's be honest. You know, Gagai and Walker have been playing together for a long time now. If it was going to get fixed, it would have been fixed by now.
Yeah, fair point.
You know,
fair point. Let's get to the top 2 teams, mate. If you've lasted this long in the podcast, everybody, I'll send you a gift card or something from Sloshy Stew. The Panthers.
Yes,
they were minor premiers, just waiting to happen.
Yep.
And then in the space of about 2 weeks, they weren't.
Origin happened.
Which happens. And it's the byproduct of being good. And I don't want to ever hear people complain about, oh, my players are Origin. Well, that's what happens. That's life.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
You get rewarded for being good, ideally.
Well, look who was out. You had Luai out, Cleary out, Toto after 2 games a bit. Yo,
Coruscant didn't play. Like, how'd that work for him against the Tigers? Then Cleary got injured, and they didn't tread water as much as they skated around the ice without having skates on. They just didn't quite. They were out there, and they were still going okay. They were sort of staying up, but they didn't look like they could move around very freely. Luai came back too early from his knee injury, and I still don't reckon he's right. I'm a bit concerned they're bringing back Toto this early from a syndesmosis, but if he's fit, he's fit. I guess the danger with him is
Gus said last time he did that syndesmosis, he was out for 9 weeks. So I think Gus is quite surprised. It's 5, I think.
Yeah,
this will be the 6th.
The concern for me is he redoes it and then he's out for the finals.
Yeah,
I'm surprised he's back this week, but he's huge for him. They've got deficiencies, they really do, but they've also got the best intent. Well, the equal best intent, because I think the Storm are fantastic in the way they play the footy. They just do it a little bit more calculated, I think, in certain areas. But the attacking nature of Penrith, it's a joy to watch, and you can see our demeanour change. You can't see Robb's demeanour change. You can see my demeanour change. We are genuinely excited when you watch these 2 teams play, because they play rugby league the way that, not so much the right way, it's the most refreshing way that rugby league is played in today's football. It's just, it's high tempo, it's play the ball in the ruck and defence, and it's being willing to blow a team out of off the park when you get the opportunity. And they will be the second seed, because I don't think the Storm lose their last 2 games. But what they will do is that they will jump into a prelim final, I think, in the first attempt. I don't see them not making the 3rd week of the finals.
Yeah, look, as long as Cleary's there, they could probably lose 1 or 2 others, and I hope they don't lose any of them. But if they lose Cleary, then I think they could go out backwards. But
it's Joey Johns-esque sort of impact at Newcastle back in the mid 2000s. Yeah,
very much. But the way that they play football, mate, I don't find any other team really, other than the Storm, as much fun to watch. And they're a little unpredictable as well. They're unpredictable in their predictability, if that makes sense, because I think for a while there, maybe 18 months ago, they were very predictable in everything that they did. But you'll see the same plays now that's just not with the same frequency. They play different tempos at different times, and I think they're really refreshing to watch. And I love the way that Cleary controls the game. I mean, I've been an unabashed fan of Cleary since probably his 2nd year in grade, and I think he's a phenomenal player, and I think he's our shining light for New South Wales. He's the guy that's going to get us a few series in a row. And for Penrith, he's their favourite son at the moment, just like Brandy was back in the day, and Freddie, and so no, it's an exciting time for Penrith. But I mean, let's move on to the Storm, mate, because they're right now they're going to finish as minor premiers, and they're the ones that are setting the pace, so to speak, on how to play. They're the ones that are the example.
Their speed at the speed at which they do everything is faster than everybody. It just is. Penrith have the attacking game to match Melbourne, but I don't think they have the intensity quite turned up. Definitely not this stage, but they've shown at different times in the last 12 months that they can do that. But there is a level to Melbourne that just says, if you can get to near us, good luck to you. Then you've got to try and beat us on the scoreboard. And I love that about Melbourne. I don't like some things they do. I still think they get away with murder and slowing the play the ball down, particularly with the 6 agains. It's a phenomenal ability to have influenced how referees referee them. And you can complain to me if you're a Melbourne fan, but I watched a lot of football over a long period of time in Bellamy Law, and he is just the best at it. Any player that comes to Melbourne, the first thing they learn, it's not how to breathe, it's not how to tie your shoelace up, it's how to win the play the ball with the wrestle.
Yeah.
If you don't learn it, you do not play first grade. If you don't learn it, you don't play for the Sunshine Coast Falcons. If you don't learn it, you don't play for the Werribee Colts or whatever their names are in Melbourne competition if they were still playing. You have to be able to actually do it exactly how you're taught, and it needs to be ingrained in you by the time the preseason starts. Not the season starts, the preseason starts. And that's the level of excellence that he demands. And then you compare that to almost every other team. They haven't got that. Players don't have that attention to detail. They don't have that desire. It's phenomenal.
I think Penrith's the closest.
They are, but they're not at the level.
No. Yeah. And I honestly think, if it is a Penrith and Storm final, if they're both on their game, Storm win. Penrith needs the Storm to be just half a click down from a 10 for them to win the game.
Or a referee that is happy to call 6 agains or penalise and just take the sting out of that Melbourne ruck dominance. Yeah, that's all they need, but they need it to happen to open that door.
That's right. And I mean, the only other thing that would probably open the door a little bit for Penrith would be if they were without a Harry Grant or if they were without a Munster or something like that. And I hope for Penrith's sake, they're not down on troops. I hope Penrith get to the grand final, and I hope that the Storm do too, because they're the two best teams. Yeah. And I hope that, I would like Penrith to win that grand final, but I want them to win fair and square. I don't want them to have a leg up, but there's a fair bit of football to go till then, mate.
There is,
but clearly the Storm are the, are leading the race in who the example is to follow. So, there's still, what have we got? We've got 2 more weeks of football, and then we've got 4 weeks of finals.
4 weeks of finals. On Melbourne, 2 questions for you. Would you start Harry Grant and push Brandon Smith to lock to start the game, or would you keep doing what they've been doing for the season?
No. I'm not even in the beginning of a pimple on Bellamy's butt, but I like the idea of starting Smith and bringing Grant on. That's what I like. I like the idea of Smith playing 9 for the first 10 or 15.
Well, I think it's only 15. It can't be longer than 20. I don't like that he waits too long.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you want Smith being without his energy to go into that lock forward spot where he just throws himself into the game.
Totally. It's 10, 15 minutes max, and then whack him into lock. And then Grant comes on and creates a bit of havoc. And he really does create that havoc. He's got that energy.
Machine, isn't he? He's so good.
Yeah.
And the other one is Nico Hines. What do you do with him?
I play Nico Hines in 14 because I think Nico can play anywhere. He could play lock if you needed him to in the middle. He could play hooker or dummy half if you needed him to. He could play 1, play 7, play centre, winger. He could play anywhere other than in front row, really, except for hooker. Yeah. So anywhere but other than a prop, Nico Hines can play. So I'd like him as a 14, but Pappy has to be your 1 for your best team. The more minutes Pappy plays, the more dangerous he gets. So that's what I'd do. But Bellyache might have another idea, mate, and I'm sure it's better than my idea.
The only other thing I could think of is that you move Remus Smith to the wing, play Nico Hines in the centres.
You could
if
do
you
that.
Want him on the field. Yep. But I like the idea of him being in 14. And the reason I do is that Nelson's got to come back. Tui's got to come back. And when they go on the bench with Nico Hines and Harry Grant, your forward rotations, they're pretty set. Like Nico might have a repeat performance of last year. He doesn't get in the field in the grand final. It's entirely possible, but the way Melbourne's team is made, that's their best fit. So I think Nico has been great for them this year, borderline better than that. But when all the pieces sort of fall into place for Melbourne, it's probably 14. And it's whether he could be used more than 10, 15 minutes. Because one thing about Bellamy, he doesn't waste interchanges. He'll only leave a player like a starting forward off for like 10 minutes, and sometimes he'll bring him back on. He doesn't get stuck in these rotation things. He plays his best players as much as he can.
And look, I know that some people are leery about having, only 2 genuine forwards on the bench, but that's the way it works best for them. And, it's either that or you lose. I mean, there's a couple of options. You either lose Nico Hines and you put another forward on the bench, or
like an Eisenhuth
start Harry.
Like that. Yeah.
You start Harry Grant and you put Smith on the bench and have him as a rotating forward. But I don't know if you get the best out of him that way. I think Smith's best thing is the energy early on, and then keep him on there as a 13.
Nice problem to have if you're Craig Bellamy, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
And Munster's just rounding into some form. So happy birthday if you're any team other than Penrith trying to win a competition. Rob, that has been a serious dive into every team.
An epic one.
Much for the quick temperature check. But if you've got to this stage of the podcast, thank you very much, everybody. It's good to be back. We just figured instead of trying to go back to the, let's be topical, we haven't spoken to you for 2 months. So
I know it's been too long, mate.
That's where we think about teams as we go. I think we've been pretty fair on a lot of the sides, and there's no question that in our mind it's Penrith versus the Storm for the GF at this stage, with South and Manly as the 2 teams that have the ability to get there. Maybe if one of the top 2 sides fall over, but other than that, you know where to catch us on our Instagram. We're occasionally doing some things there. We'll do some more now that we've actually done a podcast, because I feel bad that we haven't done a show, so I don't want to post too much.
Well, let's do another one next week. Let's do a short one, but let's do another one next week and see where these these 2 or 3 teams that are sniffing around the 8 are going to actually end up, and then we'll find out who our 8 are.
And we might even give you a bit of a tip for our Rookie of the Year as well. I think that's about due. We might have to work out who's actually eligible, which is always a fun process. Roberto Coxsmith, thank you very much for your time, mate. And I'll speak to you whenever we find the chance next. After I'm double vaxxed and I'm bouncing off the walls or bouncing into walls or laying in bed for a week, whichever one it is, we'll see what happens. You can get Rob on Instagram, ROBBCOX, at Not The Footy Show on Instagram as well, or on the Facebook. And if you haven't given us a rating on Apple Podcasts, we would appreciate it. Anything else to say as we leave the show, mate?
Not really, mate. I'll be back on the jackhammer tomorrow, cutting up my concrete at the side of my house, and that's about it, really.
Pretty exciting stuff.
No,
just like the last 2 hours of your life. So
I am going to go get a COVID test tomorrow.
Okay.
COVID test tomorrow. That'll get me out of the house for half an hour.
Like the bloke I saw,
because I need one.
Seats last night, and someone said, this old bloke, he's sitting in his car, and they said, "Oh, where are you from, sir?" And he goes, "Oh, just around the corner." I said, "Have you been feeling sick, sir?" "No." "Anyone in your family been sick?" "No." "What are you doing here, sir?" "I wanted to do something, so I thought I'd come and get a COVID test."
Yeah. And let the government pay 180
bucks. It wasn't you. I'm sure it wasn't you, Coxsmith.
No, it wasn't me, mate. But it's exactly what I feel. I feel like I get to drive past Bunnings.
Oh, and what could have been if you go inside? I mean, wow.
Yeah. Can't go to Bunnings anymore.
I'm just doing circles of sort of the North Sydney at the moment.
Trying to bribe tradies to go in and buy me something.
Very nice. We'll speak to you next time, everybody, on Not The Footy Show. Rob Cox, Warrick Nicolson. Talk to you next time. Go for it, Mr. Beckham.
Catch you next time. Peps.
Not The Footy Show.
That went longer than
went so
we
long.
anticipated. It's all right. The people will love it, mate. They'll be frothing.
Not The Footy Show.
It's people's escape. It's people's relaxation. And we need to do everything in order to continue that great tradition of
Not The Footy Show.
Birthday boy.
Pepsi.